Today on the Jay and Will Show, we will recap some important games from week 2. We will preview week 3, and then we'll start off with what the hell happened to the Cowboys last week. Play the music.
Purchase your tracks today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jay and Will podcast. I am Jay, and the brother to my left is my brother Will. What's going on, man?
What up, man? Let's get into these football talks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'll get the plugs out of the way first, guys. If you're watching this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Once you subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you are made aware of when we do go live. That's the same for all of our Glow Sun production platforms. It's because we geek, this we talk Mavs, we talk kayfabe, we talk goats, all those things under the Glow Sun production umbrella. Do not forget to like and subscribe to all of those channels as we continue to provide you with this stellar content. So, Will, I wanted to touch on a couple of games from week 2 to sort of transition into our previews for week 3. To me, the two biggest takeaways in last week's slate of games was the fact that the Ravens lost to the Raiders at home and are now 0-2. And the elephant in the room, not here, but just in general, is the Cowboys got dog walked by the Saints. We talked about this a little bit last week in that it wouldn't have necessarily been a surprise that they lost to the Saints, but the manner in which they lost is a surprise. So let's start with the Ravens Raiders, because I was looking at the numbers on this. Like, it was a close game. I just felt like, obviously we saw what they did against the Chiefs in week 1, and they lost by a toenail. And so it was okay. They're gonna be back home. They got a long break because they had that first Thursday night game of the season. So they got 10 days off. You playing at home against a team that I guess now we may have to say is better than we thought they would be in the Raiders. But they go into Baltimore and pull out the upset win. Nothing really stuck out to me as far as the stats go. Did you have any takeaways or just opinions on maybe either the Ravens or the Raiders for that matter?
No, like the Ravens should have won this game. They had Lamar had over almost 400 yards passing. They had over 151 rushing yards. So compared to only 27 for Vegas. And then when it comes to passing, Vegas only had 260. So they had more offense putting out there. So I think the main thing was just when it came to Baltimore was just finishing. They wasn't able to put the ball in the end zone. And a lot of times that's what comes back to bite you. And I think Vegas is exactly what we thought said they were. As far as that team that can be an upset, I don't think because I think the big thing was that they were able to just keep Baltimore out the end zone. They bend. It was like a bend but don't break type defense, and they played it perfectly. You can gain all the yards that you want, but you won't get into the end zone enough to beat us, and that's exactly what happened. So I think it would. I don't think Vegas is a world beater. But I do think, like we said before, it will be a team that you have to pay attention to that can upset some teams that might be on the cusp of trying to make the playoffs, and they just end up catching you slipping and beat you.
Yeah, we mentioned that they may be playing spoiler for a lot of teams, and so this was kind of a prime example of that. Who knows how much this ends up costing them in the long run as far as not divisional record, but conference record or just for seeding, right? Because as we know, there's only one bye now per conference. And so knowing that Kansas City's going to be around, knowing that, we're assuming at some point Cincinnati's going to turn around. Knowing Buffalo's going to be there, Houston's, like all those teams, like you never know how a loss like that can impact your seeding moving forward. So it's a good point. Also, I looked at the breakdown because I kind of want to look at this as the season progresses. I think Derrick Henry had like 18 carries and Lamar only had 5. So we talked about trying to look at how things eventually sort of come into shape as far as the distribution goes for carries there. So it looks like that's going to be more of the norm as they seem to be ramping Derrick Henry up and then eventually scaling Lamar back. And to your point last week, you mentioned that there may have been a prove-it game for Lamar going up against the Chiefs in week 1 that he felt like he had to kind of put his what on the table, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, but to see, looking at that, it looks like they definitely kind of went back to what we felt like it would normally be in terms of scaling back Lamar's wear and tear on those carries and then giving Derrick Henry more of the distribution of carries. So I want to still kind of keep an eye on that throughout the rest of the season. But it seems like at least for that game that they kind of went back to what we maybe expected they would be doing this season.
Yeah.
So really quickly, we can discuss or at least try to figure out what the hell happened last week. We spent a lot of the show last week talking about how Mike Zimmer's defense looks so much different than what Dan Quinn was doing. We talked about the fact that it seemed like they had a difference of, I guess, scheme and just overall. They were flying to the ball a lot more in the Cleveland game. So I felt like that was going to be the same thing in the Saints game, and then they just reenacted what Green Bay did to them in the divisional game, on the Walker game last year. I looked at the stats, bro. It looked worse than it was, and maybe it could be the Saints maybe just took the foot off the gas. I don't know, but I don't really know. I'll say this, and I'll let you kind of take over. But the running game is a problem that we thought it was going to be on both sides of the ball. You're not able to stop the ball stop the running defensively, and you're not able to run the ball offensively. And I don't know what the thought process was at running back because, well, we know what it was. It was running back by committee. That was a thought. But you bring in a guy in Zeke who, in his year away, wasn't impressive at all. Like, it wasn't like he was a game changer for New England. So I don't know why they thought that was going to be the solution. I don't even know if they thought that was going to be the solution. I don't know. But, Rico Dowdle had the majority of touches here, but it wasn't a lot. They seem to have a hard time trying to figure out what they're doing as far as the run game is concerned because Zeke, the first 2 series, didn't even play. So Rico started the game, and then you saw Deuce getting a handful of carries, and they don't seem to know what they're doing from the running back position. So that may be a cause for concern. I don't know how different the Browns game would have been if Nick Chubb was active. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess maybe I don't know how to react because it could be that both weeks are fool's gold. It could be week 1 was fool's gold, and it could be week 2, which is a bad matchup. Who knows? But because they're playing the Ravens this week, they don't really have a whole lot of room to play around with trying to figure out what's going on as far as lineups and things like that because they lose against the Ravens, they're 1-2, and who knows what happens the rest of the season. So just kick it to you, man. Overall thoughts about the performance last week against the Saints.
So I think what happened to the Cowboys is the same thing that happened to the Ravens, not finishing. So it looked like it got out of hand quickly, but you also want to know that Dallas has scored on the first 3 or 4 possessions as well, but most of those end up being field goals instead of touchdowns like New Orleans. So Dallas was moving the ball and was getting into scoring position, but it just that they wasn't able to come away with touchdowns to keep up with them. So a lot of people was trying to put it on Dak when it's not Dak who's playing defense to be able to give up a touchdown every drive. It's also not Dak that he's not the one that's out there throwing and running routes as well. because CD ended up running the wrong route on deep ball in the first half. I think it was right at the end of the first quarter. That could have, I think it would have made the score like 10-14 or something like that if he would have ran the proper route. So it's just small things like that, but yeah, just end up rolling. Also, Dallas doesn't spend that much money on D tackles
Yeah.
or use any capital on D tackles. So that's like trade, uh, draft, or get in free agency, which is crazy because when you see all these other teams that are great at run stopping, they have good D tackles because that's what protects your linebacking. So it keeps the offensive line from getting to your linebackers, so that the linebackers won't it just nullifies them or neutralizes them. And because Dallas doesn't spend capital on it, their D tackles get ran through like they did last week, to where that the now the linebackers have these big linemen on them that's moving them out the way, so which is a problem. So it's
Right.
just things like that that's it's on the Cowboys front office that people have been saying forever that they need to correct, and they just don't. Uh, I forgot to I forgot where I saw it, but this one person had put up that in 4 of the last 16 home games for the Cowboys, they've been dog walked. The Bills
Really?
got them 31-3. 49ers had them 44-19 or something, or something crazy. So it was New Orleans, Bills, Packers, and 49ers. Those 4 teams dog walked the Cowboys um, in four of the last 16 games. That's a quarter of the games that you've been dog walked. So essentially been getting the break speed off you over 21 points in those games.
And
That's the
there's a
problem.
common thread with those teams is that they have a good running game too. Um,
Exactly. D
and
tackle.
and look, they drafted Mozzie Smith 2 years ago. It hasn't panned out. He's just
Mhm.
not what they thought he would be. He hasn't been able to stay healthy either.
Yeah.
For some reason, he lost weight over the off season, which I'm like, you're a D tackle. Like, we don't need you to lose weight. We need you to
Yeah.
bulk up,
Yeah.
or at least gain weight, if not bulk up. But losing weight is
Yeah.
not conducive to being a defensive tackle,
Yeah.
particularly in that scheme with Mike. So, what do you think about as we kind of parlay that into the Ravens game? I'm trying to figure out. I mean, why would it not be more of the same? If you're Baltimore, why wouldn't you employ the same strategy that New Orleans did and that the Packers did, and that's just run it down their throat and then use that to set up the pass?
Yeah.
What is there
I
any
think
reason that they will do anything different?
no, there's no reason why they wouldn't. It should be the teams that beat the brakes off Dallas like that are typically teams that do a bunch of motion. They just run the ball down your throat. Like they move defenders around and then just hand it off, or some way get it to the running back. It could be a handoff, it could be a toss of some sort, and it's just around the edge. Because if you look back at it, the Saints got the edge whenever they want it.
Yeah,
They would outflank the Cowboys, get set the edge, and just hold it. And Kamara would get around the edge, or whoever would get around the edge, and it's off to the races at that point, constantly, like 5 yards here, 5 yards there. Then they'll just go straight up the A gap, another 4 yards, 5 yards here. And it by the end of it, it was just even while they're trying to run the clock out, they're still about to just still put up more points. Like it was that bad. So yeah, I see no reason why it would be anything different.
yeah. Um, we we may already know the answer to this, but we'll get to the prediction once we
Mhm.
get to that game on the docket. But it's just interesting how, and look, I mean, I don't know if we actually talked about like, well, we didn't talk about like actual like records as far as what we thought their record would be throughout the season.
Yeah,
Um, we don't have to do that now, but it feels like it's more of the same in terms of there's just glaring hole that they can't seem to sort of overcome. And
Yeah.
you would have thought that or hoped that with the change of the guard with Mike Zimmer coming in, that would kind of help a little bit. But
Yeah.
I don't want to overreact because it's just one game. But if one game turns into two, which it could in this game,
Yeah.
it could snowball. And the thing too, like I was going to mention also, is that one of the things that if there's a weakness in Micah Parsons' game is run defense.
Yeah.
So if you run it at him, which I think they did a lot in the Saints game, or the Saints did a lot in the Cowboys game, that's you sort of negate what he's able to do, because if you're not, because Derek Carr threw the ball a lot. I mean, he was
Yeah.
effective when he threw, but it wasn't like he threw the ball
Yeah.
30 times.
Yeah.
So they understood what the game plan was, and I'm sure they'll do the same thing with Lamar. I don't know. It don't look good. But anyway, we'll get to that once we get to that game of the docket. So, all right, we will go ahead and look at. Oh, real quick. I know we got a short show.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on the Eagles collapse on Monday Night Football against the Falcons?
Man, I was celebrating. I'm not even gonna lie. And I turned that game on. It was what was it? So I was already. I watched most of the game, and then once it hit, what was it, fourth quarter? That's when it's like focused on this. Like, okay, this is a close one. Like, gonna have to. It got me worried because it was like how it was going, and then what was it? It was when Saquon dropped the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And they decided to. I think that's when they kicked the field goal. It's like, oh, they just left the door open for Kirk. It's like Kirk can do something. It's like it might be a night game, but every once in a while Kirk can pull out some magic.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was the second throw up the sideline where dude got loose for a little bit up the field. It's like, that's it.
Yep.
That's it right there. That's all they needed. And I watched it. I watched the Manning cast. So like Peyton was hyped. Watching Peyton is a trip. Like when it comes to bad football, he hates it. Like,
he
he's
gets
miserable watching.
Yeah.
He is miserable, and he lets like it's all in his face. It's the way he commentates, like it's all there, and I love it when it's bad football, especially when it's coming from the Eagles. So it was amazing to watch. It did make me nervous when the Eagles got the ball back because they were moving down, and it was crazy for him to throw the ball down and feel like that.
Right.
Where the interception was like, but you only needed 15. Why would you throw it all the way down there? Like,
look, as much as I'm like detached from the Cowboys, I still hate the Eagles no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely, forever,
no matter what. So I love seeing this. What's interesting to me, bro, and I don't understand, if you go for it on third down and you don't get it, you kick the field goal. But for me, it's like if you go for it on third down, you might as well go for it on fourth down too, because at least if they don't get it, they still gotta go the whole length of the field. And to me, if obviously they still be down 3 in that case, so in their mind, they may not be trying to touch it. They may just say, "Let's just get a field goal to get it in overtime," and that strategy is a lot less aggressive than it is when you gotta score a touchdown. And so, desperation is a little bit different. They may not be as gung ho on getting the ball down the field. They want to get the ball down the field, but they want to get in the field goal range because all they know is they need a field goal, as opposed to we gotta go now because we gotta score a touchdown. The play call is more aggressive. So for me, if I'm them, which I'm glad I'm not, because they made the decision to make me enjoy it the most. Might as well go for it on fourth down. Like if it was me, I would have ran the ball on third. I think it was 3rd and 3. Run the ball third down. Even if you don't get it, you do the tush push or whatever. Like get those extra yards. Like it. Kellen Moore. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm running the ball 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, even if you don't get it, they're still pinned far back in their own territory, and they gotta drop the ball down the field with no timeouts to get into field goal range. So it's like, I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting play call, but we know about that. So anyway, Yeah, give credit.
So,
Give Kirk his flowers, bro.
oh yeah,
He deserved it for sure.
yep,
He didn't look good for the majority of that game, but he took care of it when it mattered.
yeah.
I had a friend of mine named Chandler. He's a Falcons fan, and whenever I forgot what the circumstances were. I think the Eagles had scored to put them up, and then everybody's, "Oh, it's over." I was like, "I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like y'all still gonna win this game. I don't know why. I just feel like the Eagles gonna do something stupid, and y'all
Mhm.
gonna get a chance. Now, whether y'all capitalize on it, who knows? But and lo and behold, Eagles, and
Yeah,
they may still win divisions because I don't know how good this division is, but
it's bad.
it ain't
Nobody in the division can stop the run.
facts. I, yeah, I mean, yeah. And then at least if you can't stop the run, like if you're the Giants, you can't really score.
Yeah.
So it's like anyway. But yeah, I forgot I wanted to mention that game because I'm gonna take every chance I get to talk ish about the Eagles. It's what it is. Or laugh at the downfall. All
Yeah.
right, let's go ahead and go to week 3. So we have the slate of games here. I don't have anything to say about the Thursday night game, Jets Patriots. If you have anything to say, I'm by all means, but I have nothing to add on that one.
It look like they just found their defense, so we'll see how long
Fair.
that lasts.
That's fair. That's fair. And again, Aaron Rodgers came out unscathed, so that's
Yeah.
got 2 wins in that one. All right, we'll start with the early slated games here. We have the 0-2 New York Giants visiting the 1-1 Cleveland Browns getting a win last week. The Giants obviously losing again. Malik Neighbors looked good. They
Mhm.
lost, but he looked good, so that's a positive. But these two teams, I don't know. I guess I'll give Cleveland the nod because they're at home, even though that
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. Obviously, the first week of the season, but I don't really have any expectations out of the Giants to do anything impressive, if I'm honest. So I'm gonna go with Cleveland in this one. What you think?
I I got Cleveland. I think they'll be able to put up more points. Just score better than what the Giants can. Because the fact that the Giants lost a game after putting up 3 touchdowns did they miss every field goal, extra point?
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen? Like, I thought that was only a Cowboy thing, but it, and a Cowboy thing in the playoffs.
Right.
So yeah, like you score 3 touchdowns and you lose 21-18 is insane. Yeah, I got the Browns in this. The Giants going to figure out a way to lose it either way, so I got the Browns.
Last week we were talking about. Oh, we got to talk about the Carolina situation too.
Oh yeah,
Um, last week we were talking about when we did say something nice, which will probably come back next week. But um, talking about the draft class for the 2025 draft.
uh, mhm,
Giants might be in that same running, bro. I mean,
yeah,
I know
especially
they paid Buddy $40 million a year, but I mean,
yeah,
look, at this rate, you'll be top 3 to 5 in the draft.
hmm
There's 3 to 5 quarterbacks that we think can help them. If Prime says what it means what he says. I know damn well Shadur not going to the Giants, so that
yeah,
might be out. But you got some guys, Carson Beck, we talked about Quinn Ewers. There's some
mhm.
guys there next year, and so if I'm them, I'm looking at that. I mean, that's
and
just go ahead.
and you can have him. I would still have him to sit behind him for a year.
You know what? That's fair.
Still let him learn.
Yeah,
The money's already been spent on him, so at least for 1 year, let him sit behind him or whatever to learn. Give
yeah,
him essentially give him time to grow, since you have a quarterback. Give them time to whoever you draft, time to learn, time to watch, so that once it is time, you can actually put them out there, and it can essentially be like a Jordan Love type situation of Patrick Mahomes. Like, they can step out comfortable, be able to make plays because they had a chance to watch the game. So
yeah.
that's what I would do.
No, that's a good point. I think if that's their approach, if I were them, I would take Carson back because I don't know if he's ready yet.
Yeah,
Um, I think Quinn is ready right now, and
yeah,
I've been arguing with UT people down here for a week for some reason. You know, I don't give a damn about UT, but the blasphemous, sorry to use that, but there's like the crazy talk about because Arch went crazy against UT saying that he should be the starter now. I'm like, bro, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like,
nah.
don't
And
disrespect.
Arch is no rush. Arch said there's no rush for him to go to the
There's
league.
no
He
rush.
wants to do like 4 years on the Sark.
So why? Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
bro, you're not even complaining. So why are you complaining?
yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like he does
bro,
it. Yeah, it makes no sense.
Quinn went to Michigan and beat the brakes off Michigan. Quinn went to Alabama and played the way he played. I can't remember if they won that game or not, but
They beat Alabama into Tuscaloosa.
that's what I thought. I wasn't so sure. Yeah, but he balled in that game. I'm like,
Yeah,
no disrespect to Arch, but he's just not there yet. It's good that he looks good against teams he should look good against. Like last night, he played Louisiana Monroe. He threw a pick in that game, but other than that, he looked good. But he's supposed to look good in those games. I would be concerned if he didn't look good in those games. Then it's like, well, what do we have? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyway, this is the college football podcast, but I bring it up just to say that I really, really, really like Quinn Ewers. I think he's gonna be a really good quarterback in the league. And so if I were him, I wouldn't want to sit behind anybody. But he's sticking good, man. Anyways, but yeah, the Giants might be in the lottery for a quarterback this year. But I like your point about because the money is already spent, you don't have to rush the rookie out there. Let Daniel Jones die on his own sword, and then once that's over, we got a savior. And obviously, we know the most popular person is the backup quarterback as far as the fans go. So that does nothing but help set them up. So that's a good point.
And if you go bad, if it's bad back-to-back years, that's the following year. Let's say you get another top 2 pick or whatever, you can trade that off to get multiple picks moving forward to
Get some
build
more
up
help
your team.
Yeah.
So, but that's Giants ain't got to do that. I'm just saying,
no,
like,
this is hypothetical.
Y'all
do that. Y'all
I
do
don't
what
want them to be good.
Keep doing what y'all doing.
Exactly.
The next game on the docket, the 1-1 Bears go up against the 0-2 Colts. Neither one of these teams looked particularly good last week. The Colts went to Green Bay and lost to the Jordan Love-less Packers. And the Chicago Bears, poor Caleb Williams running for his life on Sunday Night Football against the Texans. I picked the last game first, so I'll let you pick this one. Colts and the Bears.
This is a tough one. Like that Bears defense is pretty good. Like it's a defense to be worried about. The offense, like the bad throws and Caleb running for his life is crazy. I'm gonna go with the Colts. I don't see them. The Colts starting 0-3. It's another home game. I see it being tough for them to start 0-3. So I got the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Anthony Richardson has a combined 16 completions for the year.
Jesus.
Combined. So that's not great. A lot of his game, a lot of the week 1 points against the Texans were bombs. And if you remember me talking about it last week, or I guess I talked about it in the first episode, one of the issues or I guess areas of concern for the Texans this year was their secondary. The front seven is a beast. They brought in Daniil Hunter. Like they obviously have Will Anderson Jr. So their front seven is already legit. It was a question of whether their secondary was going to be good enough, and we saw them sort of struggle against those deep passes for Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson had 3 passes over 50 yards in that game, and so that was a concern. I would argue that the Packers secondary is better than Houston's right now. Houston's is a lot younger, but I think with Jair Alexander and those guys on that side, their defense is a lot better, and we saw that. I think he threw 3 picks in that game last week against the Packers. So he's struggled. Caleb Williams struggled, but to your point, defense is very, 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 very good. So that concerns me as a person who has Anthony Richardson as a starting quarterback in fantasy, that the Bears can more than likely neutralize him. I'm going to pick the Bears in this one. They hung around despite the fact that Caleb Williams. I mean, I think he got sacked 8 times in that game last week.
Jeez.
And they still were in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I don't know that the Colts front seven is as, I guess, I don't want to say dominant, but as good as far as getting to the quarterback as what they saw last week. It's clear that the Bears' offensive line is not very good,
Yeah.
but I feel like the the defense can do enough to keep it close to
Mm-hmm.
where they may have a chance to do something in the end. I haven't seen enough from the Colts offense to be confident enough they're going to do much against this Bears defense because we know how we feel about the Texans offense overall, and they struggle against the Bears. So I
Yeah.
don't know how to look at the Colts offense and feel like, I mean, unless Jonathan Taylor has a field day, which he could, I
Yeah.
just don't know how that offense really is productive enough to get over the line. So I'm actually going to pick the Bears in this one. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Next game on the docket is a battle of 2-0 teams. The 2-0 Texans going up against the 2-0 Minnesota Vikings. And to me, a surprising 2-0 Minnesota Vikings. I did not have to beat
Yeah.
the guys last week, obviously.
Man, so many upsets.
Yeah, and I think the 49ers are more beat up than we thought they would be
Yeah.
at this point in the year, which is another thing. But they look good.
Yeah.
Defense has played well both weeks. So that's impressive. They played the Giants for but anyway. So you win, you play the teams that are in front of you, and they beat both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to them for that. Texas has kind of squeaked by 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
Haven't played their best ball yet. CJ's look good, but you could tell they're still trying to figure it out offensively.
Yeah.
Collins is not trying to figure it out. He got to figure it out. He's been balling both games. He's been balling. So that connection with him and CJ is more than okay, despite the fact that they have a new wide receiver one in Stephon Diggs. I think him and Diggs trying to still figure it out. They're still trying to figure out how Tank Dell fits in that as well. Tank Dell's numbers have been great so far this year. So them going on the road against a team that may be good. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to make heads and tails of it. I'm gonna go with the Texans on this one. Not 100% confident in that because I can see the Vikings win this game as well. But I'm gonna go with the Texans. Yeah, what you got?
I'm going with the Vikings on this one. It's been surprising. The defense has been surprisingly good. Sam Darnold is a good quarterback.
Question mark?
All of a sudden. All of a sudden. Maybe it is the Jets or something. I don't know. Or Carolina, sorry. Maybe it is Carolina.
It might be.
Yeah, I got the Vikings. Offense has been surprisingly. They played well enough to score and to do it consistently, to where the defense can be able to just make plays. Don't have to be out of their element, and they've been getting back-to-back wins. So I think it's in that zone of they might not be great, but they might just be good enough. And I think that's where the Vikings are sitting right now. The offense is good enough to score consistently, and the defense is good enough to make a stop here and there. So I think that alone is what's going to slow down Texans today. So I got Vikings.
Yeah, I think this one is probably one of the more, to me, pick 'em games of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it going either way.
Yeah, it's going to be a close one.
And I'll say, like, Vikings go 3-0, we might have to have a conversation next week.
Yeah.
Just saying, because obviously, we talked about the Packers, and now we're getting, I think Jordan Love was ruled out last night, but
yeah.
throughout the week. And so maybe he's ready next week.
Mm-hmm.
But even with them winning, last week,
It's extra week.
In a second, they win this week and survive those 2 games without him.
Yeah.
That division all of a sudden looks a little different because if the Lions don't get it together, they had a tough loss last week against Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But that division might have 3 teams come out of it.
Yeah.
Good see. All right. Next game, 1-1 Eagles visiting the 2-0 Saints. Saints, obviously, as we talked about earlier, coming off of a victory against the Cowboys in Dallas, and the Eagles coming off of a snatching defeat from the jaws of victory loss against the Falcons. I'll I'll let you go first. Who you got pick between these two guys? Team.
Got the Saints. I want the Saints to dog walk these mofo's. I want them to score touchdowns in the first 7 drives. Keep the same energy. Oh,
Yeah.
plus they playing in New Orleans. Like I'm gonna have this game on TV. I'm trying to watch it. Yeah, I got the Saints in this one.
Something feels weird to me about this game.
Well,
Now I don't
especially
know
with
if
the way
it's
that the Eagles lost
yeah,
and
I
the
don't
way that
know.
the Saints won.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like me just
First
not
third.
believing in what I saw. I don't know. I'm confused, but see, this is one of those games where it's like it's almost too obvious to me. Like it's almost like you expect the Saints coming off 2 big wins, the Eagles coming
Mhm.
off of S in the bed last week.
Yeah,
You kind of feel like this is going to be like, all right, well, the Saints are for real. We see it
Mm.
now, and the
yeah.
Eagles defense is not very good, so they should dog walk them. But
Right.
I just feel like something weird gonna happen in this game.
How you know
Um,
it is?
I'm gonna go with my gut, and I hate to say this, and I'll probably won't say it the rest of the year, but I'm going with the Eagles in this one. I just
Okay.
something feels a little, I don't know, something I don't know, and this is expert analysis by me by saying, oh no, it's under my gut, but it, based off, I think last week has me gun shy because
Mhm.
we were so certain about so many of the games, and so many of them went the opposite way.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if it's like, I mean, you hear week to week league all the time, but like last week was crazy as far as like the number of upsets that we saw and the stuff not going the way
yeah.
we expected. So I feel like if it's too obvious, some might go the other way. So I'm gonna go with the Eagles in this one.
I got you.
No expert analysis as to why. It's just something I feel. Um, this is another game of, to me, two unexpected 2-0 teams.
Yeah.
But we have the 2-0 Chargers visiting the 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Um, the battle of the undefeateds, which is interesting. I am gonna go with the Steelers in this one. I feel like their defense is for real, and we're seeing that.
Mhm.
Which I don't think there's any questions about that going into the season, but it's been reinforced even more with what we've seen the first 2 weeks. And I don't know if they probably haven't given confirmation yet, but I know that Justin Herbert didn't practice the back half of last week because he had an ankle sprain in last week's game. So even if he does play, he's not 100%. And I don't know who the backup is, but regardless, not 100% Justin Herbert or a backup going against that defense, I
Yeah.
feel like is a recipe for a disaster for them. So even though it may not be a blowout, I just don't see how they go into Pittsburgh and get a win. So I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one.
I'm going with Steelers as well. That defense is, like you said, some real. The just TJ Watt on that edge. The front seven is a force, which allows for the back four to be able to hold their own, just for a little bit, because they're so great at getting that rush, and they stop the run on the way to the quarterback. So yeah, I'm going with the Steelers as well. I don't. Because I know the Chargers like to Harbaugh's type of offense is more of a smash mouth, try to run the ball as much as possible, and just to make it easier for the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers can stop the ball or stop the run so well, that's what's going to hurt the Chargers the most. Them not being able to get the running backs in space, being able to just hand it to them and just watch them do their thing. So I got the Steelers in this one too.
Next one, we have the 0-2 Broncos going up against the 2-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa going on the road in Detroit and beating the Lions. We talked a little bit about them last week, looking the part, and they backed it up, certainly. So there's no reason to feel any different, in my opinion. But I'll let you pick this one first. Who you got between the Bucs and the Broncos?
I got the Bucks. Did I apologize last week to the Temple fans about Baker?
Yeah, we talked about Baker because
Yeah. Okay.
we made it a point to mention
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure. Okay. Yeah, I got Tampa. Baker is slinging that thing all over the field. It's
Bro.
dude's a problem. Ever since he got out of Carolina,
Yeah,
Cleveland, left Carolina, he's been healthy from that point. Just helping the Rams make plays, and then went to Tampa and been balling. So I got Tampa in this one. Uh, yeah, Tampa's going to be a problem this year. Watching them and the Saints this year is going to be fun.
and what's interesting too, like we just got there talking about the NFC North and how there may be 3 teams that come out of that division potentially.
Mm.
Um, and the NFC South we thought was just boo boo, and
Yeah.
they're looking better and better each week.
Yeah.
And that just to me is like, okay, well then if this continues, obviously there's only week 3, but if
Yeah.
this continues, NFC he's only getting 1 team out of that division to go make the
Yeah.
playoffs. So it's like
Mhm.
even more vital to win a division because these other divisions look a lot better. Even
Yeah.
Arizona, I mean, they looked amazing last week. Also, we'll get to them in a second.
Once they got started getting the ball out.
Right, exactly. And like, so anyway, I want to get distracted, but Bucks for sure in this one.
Mhm.
Um, the Broncos are who we thought they were, and
Mhm.
it's past time to have a conversation about their decision making as far as like how they've proceeded in this post Russell Wilson era. And more importantly to me, it might be time to have a discussion about Sean Payton, but we don't have time for that this week.
Mhm.
But anyway, next game, the 1-1 Packers visiting the 0-2 Titans. Um, can we just take a quick second to talk about the Titans head coach? I don't know if you've heard how he's kind of called out the way that Will Levis has played the past couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just, I'm not saying that he's wrong in what he has said.
Hmm.
I just don't recall a coach, and this is his first coaching job.
Yeah,
I don't recall a coach being this negative about a quarterback's play, considering this is his first year being announced a starter. It's his
right.
first 2 games. He started some games at the end of last year, but it's his first season going into the season as your quarterback one. It's his
Yeah.
second season in the league. He's played 2 games, not great, obviously,
Mhm.
but to call him out the way that he's called him out the past 2 games in
Yeah.
press conferences, that's not a good look in my opinion. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but I just feel like that's tacky as hell. And it's like, what? How does that help him? I don't know. What do you have any opinion on that at all?
Nah, I think the best thing would have been was to just keep it in house for a while. If he continued for most of the season, then you can say some things in the media just to try to grab his attention. But not early in the season, because we all know that he made bad plays. You
Yeah,
don't have to call it out in the media. You can just say made some mistakes. We'll just try to make sure that the same mistakes don't happen, and for he make more better plays than bad plays, stuff like that. Just coach speak.
yeah,
Uh, it's we all know the play's been bad. We know a lot of the plays been just stupid plays trying to make. Just has turned reckless. But yeah, just the way that he's been calling them out has been wild.
how do
Absolutely wild.
you say we would have been more productive offensively if we punted every possession than what we did? It's like,
Yeah.
how is that
Whoa.
helping him? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look, I'm not saying he's played well because we know he hasn't,
No.
but to go that far, it's just like
Yeah.
if I'm a coach, I'm trying to figure out what can I do to help him get better. This
Mm,
ain't helping him get better. But
no.
anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I was just like, I don't know what point you're trying to prove, but it ain't
Yeah.
making you look better that you're doing that. If I'm the
Mm,
coach, I'm like, look, I gotta be better as a coach to get these guys
mm,
prepared to play. All that type of coach speak, because at least at that point, if you take the blame, they know that you at least have their back.
that
But
part.
you doing it this way, it's like you almost saying it ain't my fault, it's his fault. It's like,
Yeah.
aren't you the head coach? Like,
Yeah.
it probably get him prepared, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's him not being prepared, not a reflection on what you're doing. It's just anyway. So they play the Packers again. I have no reason to think they're gonna do anything like. We saw Malik Willis play last week. They ran the ball a lot. I think like Josh Jacobs had like 31 carries or 32 carries last week. So they've made it clear that they're trying to run the ball to take the ball out of Malik Willis's hands. But even when he had it, he wasn't bad. He played decent, which is what you want from your backup. It's just to not lose us the game, right? And so
if you lose, don't be breezing.
Right, exactly. So he did that, and so I have the Titans just look bad, and I don't know. I have no reason to think they're going to win this game, other than the fact that obviously Malik Willis is not. Jordan Love is not playing. Malik Willis is going back to the team that drafted him, and they got rid of him. So that may be some added sauce there for him, added incentive to play well for him. So I'm going to go Green Bay in this one. I just feel like there's about to be some smoke in the city if you're a Titans fan. I'll say that much.
Yeah. I'm going Green Bay as well. It's a better built team, better coaching at this point as well. And the Packers, their defense is when they have it together, they have it together.
Yeah.
It's just every once in a while, it's like, what are y'all doing? But I got the Packers in this one.
Yeah. Next game, the 0-2 Panthers. I guess the first game of the Andy Dalton era. Going up against the 1-1 Las Vegas Raiders. We talked about the Vegas Raiders going into Baltimore getting the win last week. The Panthers obviously have not won a game this year. The majority of the time, and I know we got to kind of run through the rest of these, but I got the Raiders in this one, and you can give your quick prediction, but I kind of want to talk about the Panthers piece. So I'll let you give your prediction, and then we'll talk about the Panthers situation.
I got the Raiders as well. I think it's a better team. Especially that the way that they just play Baltimore, I think they'll be able to continue that bend of break. So that's going to be an issue for the Panthers overall. So Raiders overall is just a better built team than Panthers.
Raiders going to be 2-1 first week game. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Only part I want to talk about with the Panthers piece is I'm sure if you're watching this, you know what's happened already, but Bryce Young was benched after 2 games of this season. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. In terms of like what they expected versus what they saw. I don't know why they thought it would be any different, than what they saw in terms of what he's been able to do or not been able to do. Offensive line is not good. You have some skill players that are okay, but not great. You drafted a running back who's going to be ready until halfway through the season. So there's just these decisions that are being made by the front office. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, what did you think was going to happen? Like what has happened these first 2 games that you didn't expect to happen that's so drastic that you decided it's time to move on from him? And I don't know what their move is next. They said they didn't have any plans to trade him, which I'm like, if you're not going to trade him, then what are you doing? Just want to get your general thoughts on the whole situation because there's been a lot of talk about Bryce, and I feel like there's a reason why he won the Heisman. There's a reason why he was a first-round pick. Revisionist history would say you should have took CJ Stroud, but I think even then I would have probably took CJ. But for some reason, there was questions about CJ going into the draft. I'm like, all right, anyway. So just what are your thoughts on this whole situation, man?
I think that they didn't think that CJ was polished enough as far as like overall off the field wasn't polished enough, which is insane. I think I put this on the front office. I think it was Mel Kiper, I think it was, or somebody. It was like you didn't play him in the preseason. You gave him 1 series in the preseason, and as if he's a veteran. Like, no, he's still a young quarterback. Like what you need to do, he needs time. He needs repetition. So they should have been playing him. What Dallas did with what's his name? The backup, the third string.
Jordan, not Jordan. I know you're talking
But,
about. Why am I?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So what they did with him, they should have did the same thing
yeah.
with Bryce. Put his butt out there and constantly play. Especially if your offensive line isn't that good, they need to be out there as well. They
Trey
need
Lance.
to get Trey Lance. They need to get out there and get these snaps in. Get these game snaps in. That's against other people that's trying to get paid instead of just practice. Their offense should have. You saw how bad your offense was last year. Your offense should have been out there the whole preseason trying to get these snaps in, trying to even if it would have been vanilla, it just could have been a vanilla game plan, but let it make sure that they get these basics as far as the blocking, the scheme, the sliding and protection, Bryce getting the ball out in a quick 3-step drop, things like that. Like it's the basics. Get back to the basics and build them up from there. And the front office failed him. I'm sorry. Like he hasn't been great overall. We all know that, but I still put a good portion of it on the front office and the coaching staff for not helping him to succeed.
And it's like, why are you doing this now? That's why.
Yeah.
That's why I don't understand. Like, why? If you're doing this 2 weeks into the season, you already thought about doing this. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I just don't understand it. It's like, and then two, all the stuff you gave up to get him to move up to number one spot. So you don't gave up all these assets. You gave up DJ Moore. You gave up all this stuff. DJ Moore, who would have been helpful to have him there. You gave up all this stuff to move up, and you're still like, after one season and 2 games, you're like, that's it.
Yeah.
Because then what happens if Andy Dalton doesn't play well? You go back to him? Like, I don't know this, but it all this stuff is like, okay, y'all are making these impulse decisions and not thinking about the bigger picture here. Like, this team doesn't suck because of him. He ain't helping, but it's not solely on him. So to make this kind of a move, you're almost saying like the only reason we're not playing well is because of him. So now when you put Andy Dalton in and they still stink, who are you gonna blame it on?
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. It's like, and then you got a first-year head coach who Dave Canales, who was the Bucs offensive coordinator last year. So they felt like, hey, getting the offensive guy, he helped sort of revitalize Baker's career. Maybe he can help get Bryce situated.
Yeah.
You only gave him 2 games. And like you say, they didn't even play in the preseason. So it's like, what was the point of bringing in an offensive-minded, quarterback-minded coach to help this guy if you're only going to let him play for 2 games?
Yeah.
And we know Tepper, he'll fire somebody in their first year with no problem. So I don't know if there's an issue where like Dan Canales feels like I gotta do something because I don't have a whole lot of time to prove myself. But it's just a weird situation, man. So I feel for Bryce. I hope this isn't it for Bryce. I hope that he gets somewhere where maybe he can sort of be a backup for a little bit, kind of get his confidence back up, and maybe for another team he can, be who people thought he might be. I'm sick of people talking about his height. I know it's a factor, but he was the same height when he got drafted number 1 overall.
Exactly.
He was weight. He's the same as height and size he was when he got drafted number 1 overall. So I don't want to hear. I don't hear that anymore. I'm sick of hearing that. There was enough for y'all, the same pundits who were criticizing him about his size, were the same pundits the same as the first round pick. So we got to pick one. But
exactly.
Let me get back to it. So, the next game, 1-1 Miami Dolphins visiting the 2-0 Seattle Seahawks. Dolphins obviously without their star quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, so I believe Skylar Johnson or Thompson is playing. They might get dog walked in this one. I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I got Seahawks. I don't think Dolphins will have enough power at quarterback to be able to push the ball downfield like they typically do.
Right.
The offense was built around Tua, so.
Right. And Seattle's, it's in Seattle, so you already know it's going to be crazy anyway. So just to have a backup in that environment could get ugly real quick. Next game, is the 1-1 Detroit Lions going up against the 1-1 Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals almost like a tale of two games. First game didn't look good. Second game was like world beaters. Kind of hard to gauge where they are. I already talked about the Lions falling short against Tampa last week. Very good Tampa team. So this one kind of a toss up, but I'll let you pick first. Who you got between the Cardinals and the Lions?
This one's gonna be fun to watch. I got the Lions in this one. I think they get back on it. The horse. That Tampa team is a pretty good team. So just the offense, the defense, just overall. So for the Lions to slip up right there, I think it actually helps them moving forward, where they need to clean up a lot of their mistakes. I know Jared Goff threw a couple interceptions late, trying to push the ball downfield to try to win the game. So they got some stuff to clean up, but I think they'll be able to do much better this week than last. So I think it'll be close, but I think the Detroit will end up taking this one.
To be honest with you, I think Arizona wins this pretty easily. And
Really?
the reason why I feel that way is because I think there's questions about Detroit's defense as far as the secondary goes. And I feel like if we see what we saw between Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr., they might run roughshod over these boys. And you talked about it a little bit a second ago, when I think the thing with the Lions is like, if you can get in front of them, like if you can get a good lead on them and force Jared Goff to have to sling the ball down the field, I think that's where things start to kind of show where he's still not an elite quarterback. He's a very good quarterback, but we need him to come from behind. I think that's where the issues show up, and I think he may press, and there may be some turnovers that the Cardinals can get in this one. I just feel like I feel like the Cardinals may be better than what we thought. Again, we're only basing off of two games on both sides of the coin, but I think they may have sort of unlocked something in that game. When he had, was it like 2 touchdowns in the first quarter and like over 100 yards from Marvin Harrison? I know you know. But like, do you like seeing that? Like, it don't even have to be that level of production in this game for it to still be an issue for the Lions. And so it's important for the Lions to get ahead in this game early, because if they fall behind, I can see things starting to snowball. So I'm gonna pick Arizona in this one. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but I think if things go the way they went and the Lions fall behind early in this one, it could get ugly.
It was Marvin's playmaking at his hands. Like, that first touchdown back of the end zone. As soon as he caught it, he dropped, like, got the knee in. It was phenomenal. And then the second one, he just caught it house and ran it, and they caught him like around the 3, and he dove to score. So it's just playmaking the hands. Like, that's what he can do.
And low key, Arizona should be 2-0. They should be Buffalo week 1. They should be 2-0.
That's what was insane. They just he threw to him Marvin a few times. He only caught the one, and he didn't go at him rest of the game. It's like, what are you doing right now?
2-0. And I think if they were 2-0, I think more people would be picking the Cardinals in this game, because we would have seen them. They look really good in that Buffalo game until the end. So to see them look the way they looked last week and combine that with the way they looked in the first 3.5 quarters of week 1, like, but I think it looks like, based on what we saw last week, whatever issues they had in the second half of that game against the Bills, they've sort of maybe figured out. And so
not giving it to Marvin.
Exactly. That changed everything. I'll go with them on this one. So we talked about this game a little bit at the beginning. 0-2 Ravens going up against the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like this is a huge game. Whoever loses this game is either 1-2 or 0-3, and that's going to be a tough situation to get out of, particularly if you're Baltimore, knowing how competitive the AFC is. If you start at 0-3, that's a hard hole to come out of. Not impossible, but definitely difficult. So I'll kick this one out to you, man. Between the Ravens and the Cowboys, who you got winning this game?
I'm taking Baltimore. I'm gonna take if a team can run the ball, I'm taking them over the Cowboys for the rest of the season until they prove different.
It's fair.
I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore too. To your point, there's no reason for us to feel like it'll be any different,
especially at home.
Which is crazy. Hadn't they won like 16 in a row before last week?
Well, they had
Outside of your
before.
game, obviously.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was right around 15-16 because they went undefeated in the regular season last year, and I
Yeah.
think they had lost the early game the year before, but won all but one or something insane. So yeah, in the last two home games they get dog walk.
I'm about to say it might be two losses in a row after winning 16 in a row. Well, it's
Yeah,
three Green Bay, but anyway.
yeah.
Next game is the 1-1 49ers going up against the 0-2 LA Rams. 49ers are banged up. They're out.
Bang.
They're out. They're without Christian McCaffrey. They're without Debo Samuel. They're without George Kittle. All three of those guys are going to be out in this game. The Rams are obviously banged up too. They have both of their wide receivers in the hour. So we haven't even talked about this, and we don't have time to talk about it today, but the attrition that has happened as far as injuries so far this year, I don't think I've ever seen it look like this before. Where
not this
3
early.
games of the season, everybody's hurt. It's crazy. But as far as this game goes in particular, I'm going to go with the Niners, although I really have no clue because I don't know how LA is going to look without both their starting receivers.
Yeah.
I just don't really know how they kind of are able to overcome that. Obviously, the 49ers are banged up too, but they still have some weapons, not a lot. But this feels like this might be like one of those ugly, like 12-9 type games. But I'm going to go with the Niners only because I just don't really know what we're going to see out of the Rams, especially on offense. So I'll go with the Niners in this one.
I'll go with the Rams. Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. I think they'll get creative and they'll be able to just do enough to win.
Toss up to me.
Yeah, it is a toss up.
Yeah, Sunday night game. 2-0 Kansas City Chiefs going into Atlanta to face the 1-1 Falcons. I picked first and last one, so I'll let you pick who you got in this one.
I got Chiefs in this one. Like I said, it's crazy that they got better with this team, with this roster. Been able to go just the speed and talent that they have all around. Falcons had to get lucky with the Eagles being such bad down the stretch to be able to pull that one out. So I think they got lucky with that one, so they won't get so lucky this time around.
Yeah, it's interesting too because Pat Mahomes does not play well.
No, not at all.
And they're still finding ways to win, which is like the most dangerous part to me. It's like I don't want to say he's been bad, but he hasn't been, I guess, on grading on his scale, he hasn't on his curve, he hasn't been very good. And they still have found ways to win both games. So Atlanta's defense, elite, in my opinion. Very, very good. Like top 10 once the season's over with. So they could pose some issues, but nothing's really seemed to bother the Chiefs. So I don't know why I would think it would be tonight either. Although I will say, wouldn't be shocked if the Falcons won this game. Wouldn't be shocked only because we've seen the Chiefs sort of struggle and kind of skate by wins. They probably should have lost last week to the Bengals. I think it was a 1-point game.
It's 25-24.
Yeah, so like that depending on either way. So who knows? I'm gonna pick the Chiefs because they have earned that right to always get picked until they lose. But I wouldn't be shocked, man. Like I really like what I saw out of the defense from the Falcons last week, and they're just they have Raheem Morris, who's a defensive-minded coach, so he's gonna have them ready to play. Sunday Night Football, our eyes are gonna be on them, so I think it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah,
we just talked about this about not having that football game. We got 2 this week. 2-0 Buffalo Bills going against the 0-2 Jaguars. Jaguars, I think, are better than their record shows. So on paper, this was like it'll be a dog walk. I don't think it'll be a dog walk, but I do think the Bills will win this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I got the Bills in this one. It's just a primetime game in Buffalo. I think they'll be ready. They'll be hyped. I got Buffalo in this one.
And then the last game of the week, the 1-1 Washington Commanders going up against the 0-2 Bengals. Bengals are used to doing this, so I don't know about this game. I'm kind of up in the air. I'll let you pick first. Who you got between the Bengals and the Commanders?
I got Bengals in this one. I think Jamar Chase has a lot to prove, especially after last week. Last week he had a tough one. They should have won that one. And then him, he just got fined yesterday about $31,490 or something like that for berating the referee for what he felt was, I think he was saying it was a hip drop.
Oh, hip drop. Yeah.
So he got fined for berating the ref for that one. So he's going to have something to prove. It's kind of like Lamar as well. Like Lamar has something to prove against Kansas City. And end up failing. And I think it's the same thing for Jamar and Joe Burrow. So that's a team that you're trying to beat constantly. They beat them like the first 3 times they met, but now has lost like the last 2, I think, against them. Okay. So I got the Bengals on this, so I don't see them going 0-3. And you're not gonna. I also don't see you losing to a Commanders team that had to hit 7 field goals to beat the Giants.
So. I also too. I think T. Higgins is back this week. He had the first 2 games of the season, so they'll have their full complement of wide receivers in this one. So, yeah, they almost beat the Chiefs last week. They should have beat the Chiefs last week.
Yeah, they should.
So I'm with you. I'm gonna go with the Bengals on this one. I don't know, man. It's we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, just like hoping that the Bengals will sort of avoid this slow start, but they just can't seem to do it. But again, it's what they normally do, so there's no reason to panic. But yeah, I'll go with the Bengals on this one. I just wouldn't be shocked if for some reason they S the bed and the Commanders find a way to win. But Commanders got issues as far as their offense. You talked about them kicking 7 field goals last week. They got to figure out how to get things over the line. But I don't think they'll do it in this game. I'm going to go with the Bengals. Okay. All right. Any last final thoughts going into week 3? And know that if you want to take a second to gloat about how you beat the pants off me, Paul, in fantasy last week, you can do that. We're in dire straits, man. I got people on IR and both my starting running backs are injured, and it's just a mess. But you can only play who's in front of you. So I'll give you a couple seconds to gloat if you want before we shut this bad boy down.
Saw Ed yesterday, and he was talking us as well, because he's like, I hate you because of my team. Like typically, if anybody in our league, if there's anybody that's going to have a bunch of injuries, it's typically my squad.
Facts.
It's like everybody else will be relatively healthy, but by now I would have lost my starting quarterback, one of my top running backs, receiver. Like it would have been mayhem. I would already been in trying to pick up players. Yeah. But this year it's like I don't know what's happening right now. Like I'm actually like relatively healthy. Like if there's somebody hurt, it's only for like a week or 2, but they're gonna be right back. And it's like I don't know how to feel right now. So I don't want to brag. I don't want to like gloat because I don't have good luck like that. Now, as soon as I do, everything just gonna.
You're right about that. Yeah. Stay humble. Stay humble. Stay humble.
Yeah, exactly. Like no, it's like I'm enjoying it right now. I'm happy for it. Hope it continues. Like that's all I got for you.
Yeah, facts. No, yeah, I'm with you on that. Take the victories as they come, and there's like one team was in our. We always have like at the end of the season, there's always like a log jam of like everybody has the same record, and then it goes up point scored and all that fun stuff. So
yeah.
It might be again that way this year. I'm just trying to stay out of last place.
Yeah, that part.
If I can survive until my boys get healthy again, that'd be great. But it might be too late by then, so we'll see how it goes. But ladies and gentlemen, that is gonna do it for another episode of the Jay Will Podcast. Bro, appreciate you as always. Don't forget, guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, to like, and subscribe. When you subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're made aware of when we do go live. We do this thing every Sunday, so don't forget to join us. Share the video on YouTube. Follow us on X. Follow us on IG at J and Will Pod. Let's grow it, man. Let's grow it. We're trying to get everything situated. So shout out to Rel. Appreciate you again as always. I'm gonna shout you out every time we on this bad boy because we wouldn't be here without you. I'll let you get the last word in, Will.
And me and Ro, we got our Cause We Geeked. It's going to be an episode tonight, so make sure y'all tune in. All right.
Like,
subscribe so you can get that deal.
Also. Yes, sir. That platform, we talk Mavs, we talk kayfabe, we talk goats, all the above. Follow them all, man. Like, share, subscribe. Appreciate you guys. And until next week, we are